Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Jason, I'll be your host today. And joining us on the podcast this week, we have the man, the ITK Slayer himself, the ordained one, the Right Reverend Raj Patel.
I am humiliated this week, Jason, and you know exactly why.
Are you really, Raj?
Yes, I was stitched up on Tuesday night by someone telling me at midnight that Arteta signed a new contract. And being very excited, I tweeted it and then got pummeled for about 3 days after that. So thanks for that, Jason. Really appreciate it.
It was my absolute pleasure, Raj. I went to bed laughing an hour and a half later. I woke up laughing. I actually woke up laughing. And it's made my week. It really has.
How are you anyway?
I'm expecting retribution any time, to be honest with you. But I'm good, thanks, mate.
We'll sort that out.
I can imagine. Okay, on to our next panellist tonight. He's the darling of the masses, the thinking person's Michael Owen. It's Geoff Arsenal.
I don't know about thinking person's Michael Owen. Jesus Christ.
I think it's anybody with the brains, Michael Owen.
Oh, Jesus. How you doing, Jason? You okay, yeah?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. I'm very, very well. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. You're making a habit of this hosting, aren't you, mate? You're doing a fine job.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. You know, my dulcet tones. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. I get to talk to you guys, so it's happy days. I'm a winner, you know?
Top man.
Great stuff. And last but not least, it's our special guest, one of the finest bloggers on the Arsenal webosphere. It's Mr. Goonerholic.
Hello there. Thank you very much for inviting me. And when you said special, you did mean special, didn't you?
I mean, yeah. Very special.
Ah, right.
Yeah, you're the star of the show, mate.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming on, mate. It's really appreciated. Excellent. Okay, guys, right. Listeners, as you can probably guess, Danny and Gimli neither are here. Well, I think Danny's got Ebola. Gimli is just a technophobe, you know, he's up there in Merthyr. The rest of Wales is quite nice, but Merthyr's dodgy, so God knows what's happening. They will be back on next week, hopefully.
There's a TV programme on Merthyr at the moment, isn't there? Was it called Skint or something like that? Or
Skintsville.
Honestly, I keep on expecting to see Gimli pop up any minute.
Oh, honestly, it's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to a nation.
It looks a bit torn down there, I've got to tell you.
Oh, you should have gone there 20 years ago. My God. The first time I went there, it was a real eye-opener. Where I'm from is quite nice up there. My God. You thought I need a helmet up here. It's terrible. You go to the local nightclub, everybody's fighting. What's going on? But never mind, lads. It's grim up north. It is. It's right at the top of the valley, lads. Okay, straight into it. 0-0 draw with Chelsea on the weekend. Mr. Holic, what were your thoughts on the game, sir?
Strictly speaking, it was a game of two halves for me, because the first half I enjoyed the intensity of it. I thought it was a really good game, both sides giving it a go. Chelsea giving it more of a go than I expected them to, in all honesty. And the only thing that sort of brought it down for me was the fact that Oliver let Ivanovic get away with a lot of early, shall we say, challenges on Alexis, which got me saying one or two words that Raj picked me up on Twitter. That's long since deleted, no longer there. But then the second half was, I don't know what happened at half time. It's like we'd taken tranquilizers and Chelsea had decided they'd been far too ambitious. And even though they brought Drogba on, so they finally had a centre forward, they didn't look as though they were going to push forward in any great strength or numbers or whatever. And we, for some reason, seemed to be, whether we were trying to lull them out or what, I don't know. But for 20-25 minutes, I thought the game deteriorated big style before we kind of got it back together with the substitutions. We got a little bit of life back in our attack. And it was just a real shame that, particularly that last chance when Ozil and Danny Welbeck both had the chance to stick their foot through it, and we didn't take it. It kind of felt like a defeat rather than a draw, didn't it?
Yeah, it was Keystone Cops time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We just couldn't get over the line there. It was very frustrating second half, to be fair. Geoff.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it was exactly as I expected. I mean, you're talking about a Chelsea team that obviously had to come there and not get beat. the highly tuned, well-paid footballers that have got maybe one of the best tactical coaches the world has ever seen. So you knew it was going to. You could just tell it was going to be one of those games where the first goal was key. Chelsea, although they did seem to have a couple of really, really good chances to go ahead, they wasn't really doing. They wasn't pushing too much. But I just think that, they're a very, very good team. The best team in the league. There's no doubt about that. That's why they're at the top of the league. The results show that, and the league table doesn't lie. But at the same time, I think we tried our hardest. We did our best. But at the same time, we had to be a little bit cautious because we didn't want to get beat as well, because it's very important that we stay above Manchester United to get into that second place. I know you don't get anything for it, but in my opinion, it would be a progress if we finish up in second. And because Chelsea came there only wanting they wanted. As long as they didn't get beat, then it would be okay. And that is exactly what happened. We couldn't really do a lot about it. It's very difficult to break these teams down. And at the end of the day, I think a point was a draw was a fair result.
Yeah, in recent weeks they've been the kings of muggings, haven't they? They've nicked results where they've had no right to, in all fairness. Raj, you've got a question for Geoff. Would you like to ask Geoff your question, please, mate?
Yeah, Geoff, you mentioned second place. I think it's actually very important that we come second place, because there's two things that happen. Firstly is we don't have to qualify for the Champions League, which takes a little bit of pressure off us in the summer. And if we don't have to qualify Champions League, we've got an opportunity to do our business early this year and get that squad sorted out and have it ready for August. What do you think about that?
I don't think that really makes a difference to a team like Arsenal, Raj. I think it might have done 2 or 3 years ago when we was a little bit strapped, so to speak, for whatever we could pay with wages and stuff like that. But I think Arsenal are in a different position now. I do believe that, even if we did finish third or fourth, we had to qualify. I still think there'd be. The thing is, the players coming in, if they want Champions League football and you haven't yet qualified, they will make you wait. But I suppose because of that, you're right. It should make it a little bit easier for us, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a second or third would do, wouldn't it? But I would rather we finish second, because it sends out a message to everybody for next season, particularly if, we go and do some business earlier, and particularly we get ourselves another player of the same standing as Ozil or Alexis, then we really are sending out a message to the others, because we've not been that far away. You look at what's happened this season, and those injuries in the first half of the season cost us dear. Not sorting out the extra centre half until January cost us dear. But we're getting tangibly closer to where we need to be, I think.
We've played them twice now, Chelsea, and to be honest with you, I know we got beat in the first game, but to be honest with you, I think we've had most of the play. We've looked a better team, but they've just been a little bit more. They're finely tuned in defending and hitting you on the break, aren't they? And that, I think that's just I think it's important that Arsenal. There's not a lot between those two teams. I can't see a lot of difference between those two teams. What do you reckon about that, Raj?
No, there isn't. If I could sum up that game in 3 words, it was Chelsea smother Arsenal in some ways. Every time we tried to do a counter-attack, I counted at least 6 players behind the ball. And you have to accept that Chelsea have got a back four which is probably one of the best, if not the best in the league, and it's very hard to break them down. So I think a draw was in some ways inevitable, especially when the second half started. It was a pretty boring second half, and it was quite interesting to see the Chelsea players celebrate a draw, which I personally think was Mourinho saying just go and wind them up by celebrating. So 0-0. There you go. We move on.
But let's be fair, lads. They've taken to the pitch with no recognised striker. Okay, they've not come to be brave, have they?
No, it was set up. When I saw the lineup before the game, I thought, oh well, we know exactly what's going to happen. And Geoff was right. We kind of it was going to be hard for us to break them down, and that's what it was. I mean, it was only until we had to wait until the last minute of the game before we had a real chance to score, and that was Welbeck, and I actually thought he was going to score. But I think the stats showed that we had 2 shots on target. They had 1. I think we had 10 shots off target. They had 5 or 6. So it was a pretty stalemate of a game, really.
Yeah, it was. Okay, guys, let's talk about there were 4 penalty shouts in the game. And we're not going through them in any particular order, but I'm going to start with Bellerin on Oscar when he touched his shoulder. And Oscar, as he does, went over like Tom Daly. Holic.
Definitely a no for me. That the contact was insufficient to cause a grown man to tumble to earth. So that one, definitely no. One of the things that Oliver got right, the first thing that he got right, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand him. It's a big game, and he doesn't want to send people off for no reason whatsoever. But Ivanovic had got away cheaply. But I thought it was a great decision. Geoff?
No, I don't think it was a penalty, not at all. Again, Holic summed it up quite well, really. You know, I mean, these players, they do have, as long as they've got a habit of just anything at all, any part of anybody's body that touches them, they want to fall over. They want to gain that advantage by getting a penalty. And no, I don't think so, not at all.
Sweet. Raj, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the 2 older gentlemen on this podcast.
Let me just pick this blade out from your shoulder.
No, there's nothing to it. I mean, it was pathetic, really, and the referee got it right. That's a definite no from me.
Superb. Okay, I totally agree with you guys. Totally agree. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is Santi Cazorla on Cesc Fabregas. Now, Santi definitely stuck his leg out, but let's be fair, Cesc had more theatrics than Kyle Walker's dog. He went down so quickly.
You're not going to get any argument from that one.
No, it was ridiculous. There was a touch, but I've watched it 2 or 3 times, and I mean it's very theatrical. You could have got a Tony Award for that in New York for doing that, but it's actually a bit embarrassing for Chelsea because that's 2 we've now talked about when people are going down very easily, and it's something that Mourinho can't defend even though he tries to. That's a definite no from me.
And it is Cesc's second booking of the season for simulation as well. And you could actually see that he actually moved his leg towards the man to try and buy that contact when he'd already started to go down.
I've seen that a few times actually this season, David. It's happened in a few games, not with Arsenal, but watching Match of the Day and stuff. Players actually move their legs towards the other player's foot to try and. Yeah.
I think the most famous one from years ago is Bobby Perez, wasn't it? Against it was against Newcastle, wasn't it? Was it Portsmouth? One of those, wasn't it? Portsmouth, yeah.
And, Geoff, I don't know what you're on about. I never saw that. I never saw that.
No, you're right. Again, it's like simulation. He just, he wants to put his foot onto the other player's foot, and he's going to try and he'll try and roll over and see how it gets on. But no way is it a penalty again.
Superb. I totally agree, lads. I thought actually that's probably the best shout they had, but he made such a meal of it, doesn't he? It was terrible. Okay, now we're going to look at Cahill from Santi's shot. Now, the one thing I don't get about this, lads, and I want you to talk about it, is if you're up in the air and you chuck your arm up, your arm's in a natural position. You can go down to the ground without having your arm up in the air. The ball's hit his arm. Geoff, let's start with you on this. Is it a penalty for you?
No chance. Honestly, I don't think it was. I think it was a natural position. He was trying to defend. He was trying to block the ball, and as he's trying to block the ball, your arm comes out, and your leg goes one way, your arm goes up in the air a little bit. I think it was more ball to hand rather than hand to ball, and I think it would have been a bit harsh. It's a shame, especially they was very close to each other as well. It's a shame because we could have done with a penalty, couldn't we? But no, I think it would have been a little bit unfair, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough, Holic.
He nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
He came away with the lace in his hand, didn't he?
No, sorry, I'm just jesting. I agree with Geoff. I think the distance between the shot getting put away and Cahill was kind of point blank. There wasn't anything he could do to get his hand out of the way, I don't believe. So, no, I'd agree, no pen.
Okay, Sweet and Raj.
Yeah, Dave's spot on. It was too instantaneous for him to actually make it intentional. It was more ball to hand, really, so a definite no from me.
I think you're all bloody wrong. I think it's a definite penalty. He should have had a red card, and that should have been the end of it. I don't support the Arsenal, to be fair, boys. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Okay, and to the last one, my favourite one of all. David Ospina and Oscar. I mean, I thought Ospina came out really bravely, got his head in the right position. It was a perfect smash on him. Perfect rugby tackle. But as Jose has said in the past, apparently football's a man's game. And bearing in mind Mr. Oscar did try to break people's legs in our last encounter, I thought it was a perfectly good challenge. Would you boys like to elaborate on it?
I've seen it given. I've seen it given quite a few times. That was... Christ, I mean, no, it was a bit of an assault on the poor boy, to be honest. And I personally wouldn't have complained if he'd given if a penalty had been awarded. What was that World Cup game in '82? Schumacher. It was like that. And
it wasn't. It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. But they didn't get a penalty then, or was he out of the box? I can't remember. But
we had it last year in the Bayern game, didn't we? Again with Robin and was it last year or the year before with Robin and Chesney?
Yeah. He got sent off.
Similar. Yeah, he got sent off. Yeah.
I don't know. To be fair, boys, I mean, it's a man's game. What's Ospina supposed to do? What's he supposed to do?
It did look like he intentionally did it. That's the thing. He didn't go for the ball. We went for the body. So
I was lucky enough to be at the game, and at that time, as soon as he tipped it over his head and he's cleaned him out, I thought that's a penalty, absolute nailed on penalty. Yeah. And even watching the replays. It was just how we got away with that, I'll never know. So we was a little bit fortunate there because he would have definitely been sent off as well. Cleaned him out.
If he did it outside the ground, he'd have been in an Highbury Magistrates Court on Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Boys, somebody's going to back me up here. It was a perfectly good challenge.
I must say, I did enjoy it though. I did enjoy it. It was a good piece of play.
That was right in front of me, and I felt the crunch. Honestly, it was horrible. It was.
And if you're going to take him out, you've got to do it properly, and he did because he ultimately went off, didn't he? He's concussed.
Yeah.
To be
Jason,
fair,
I'll give you one thing, Jason. It was kind of momentum. I think once he'd committed to the challenge, there's no way that he's going to be able to pull out once the ball is put past him. But I think you got it right in your introduction. I think once he knew the ball was going past him, head down, arms, everything, shoulder was going into him a lot.
He got his head in exactly the right position because if he
gets, I think the dairy had been taken off of it because it was obviously the ball went over Ospina, and I think the referee was more concentrating on whether the ball was going to go in the goal or not, and maybe that trail of thought he forgot about what's just gone on, and it just carried on, didn't it? You know, so we was a bit lucky there.
But to be fair,
can't
Ospina
give a red card for it because he didn't deny him the goal scoring opportunity. He'd already got that away.
Exactly. But in all fairness, Ospina, boys, he's been very brave there, okay? And he's got his head in the right position and he's protected himself, and it's what we need from a keeper. You know, I've been a critic of Ospina, but if you're going to clear somebody out, that was textbook. It really was good.
What was the name of the referee again?
Michael Oliver. He's the guy who sent Di Maria off.
Now, he's supposed to be the golden child of the kind of
he's being
refereeing association, and yet
I quite like him, you know, Michael Oliver.
He is, but he made a few mistakes on Sunday, didn't he? I was quite surprised. I mean, that Ospina thing. I mean, did he bottle that? I mean, he could have booked Ivanovic kind of much earlier than.
Oh, unbelievable!
You know, so it was a bit disappointing because he is actually a very good referee. So. He had a bit of an off day on Sunday.
In all fairness, lads, I didn't think he had that bad a game. I thought the Ivanovic early challenges are poor. Okay, the Ospina challenge, you know, you can give that either way. But other than that, he was pretty flawless, I thought.
Yeah, he was much better up against Manchester United in the cup at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah.
He was superb that night. Another booking for diving.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is the thing. He's not scared of that. He's not scared of the. Of causing them to be upset. Geoff, what do you think of him?
Oliver?
Yeah,
I think he's a good referee, to be honest with you. I think he's maybe best referee at the moment. It's so difficult with these referees. That's, you know, it's all right when we're watching it 3 and 4 and 5 times in replays and stuff like that. But you know, to call it absolutely at that time, it's very difficult. But I think he done a decent job. It's a very tense game, and difficult for a referee, isn't it? A lot of pressure on them. So I feel sorry for him sometimes.
Very much so. It's we do have the benefit of looking back at it. They're making a slap judgment. Okay, lads. Arsene Wenger's post-match interview. He was disappointed with the results. He didn't feel he thought we did enough to get the win. He thought there was a drop-off in intensity in the second half. Then we came back in the last 20 minutes. He thought Chelsea defended well. He thought we lacked freedom in the final third, some poor decisions, we weren't sharp, and our final ball was poor. Dave, would you agree with that? Do you think he's spot on, or...?
I think he pretty much summed it up, and he was not quite as often after matches when the result hasn't gone the way that we had hoped for beforehand. He can be a bit fractious, can't he? But I thought he was, just all right, generally gloomy, but he nailed it. I think he called it the way everybody saw it. He managed to resist the urge to have a pop at Mourinho, which I think everybody was trying to goad him into doing something like that. So no, he nailed it for me.
Good. Yeah, I got to agree. I think he was pretty much spot on. Raj, what were your thoughts on it? Do you agree with Arsene? Do you think?
I kind of do. I think he was maybe perhaps a little bit overly critical of that. I was quite surprised he said all that, to be honest. But when you got to blame Chelsea a little bit, I mean, every time they broke one of our counter-attacks down, it just turned into kind of sterile possession for 3 or 4 minutes. And it seemed like time wasting from like 46 minutes onwards, So perhaps a little overcritical, but yeah, I mean, the sentiments are correct.
Okay, Geoff.
Yeah.
With it's been a bit of a mental thing, Chelsea, with us in recent years. Do you think that played a part in our decisions in the final thirds? Do you think that had any effect in it?
No, I just think they're a very, very well-oiled machine, Chelsea. We found some stats yesterday that the back five has played at least 26 games out of all the matches that we've played so far. They've all played, and once you get a defence that's played, you look at all the Premier League winners over the past 10 years, I would imagine. And I bet most of them have all played together. And once they do play together, you know exactly what one's going to do. And I mean, that was great. We in the second half we tended to get a little bit more desperate and kept on slinging the ball in there. But Terry and Cahill kept on headering it out because they just know what they're doing, and it's very, very difficult to break them down. And I think Wenger really, what he said was about right. I think he was telling the truth, and as he saw it, I think it was a little bit. It was a little bit difficult for us to break them down, but that's just Chelsea, isn't it, really, to be honest with you?
Yeah, very much so. I thought Aspilicueta was excellent as well, and Ivanovic, you know what you get with them. Those boys are quality.
They're the best defence in the league, aren't they? But, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what, for me, I can see that almost from Monday to Friday they'll be doing exactly what the famous five used to do under George Graham. They do nothing but defend all week in training, and they absolutely know what each other's going to be doing at any one point of the game.
Yeah.
Something we don't do anymore.
It's strange because the second half almost seemed like attackers and defenders at one point, didn't it?
Yeah.
There was no ambition from them, and it was it got a bit sterile. Okay. Anybody get anything rad on the match? Because I think you've just summed it up perfectly, lads.
It's one to just move on from, really. It was a little bit disappointing. A bit of a damp squib, I suppose, in the end, wasn't it, really? The best thing we could do is that we delayed the inevitable. And I really hate saying that, but Chelsea have got to play one more game to win the league, which is a shame, really. But I did have these ridiculous dreams about 3 weeks ago that they'd implode and lose every single game and we'd be winning and stuff like that. But the reality is here. Geoff called it right a month ago. They're going to win the league.
You weren't alone, Raj. You were not alone, mate.
I think you've got to take a positive out of it that you never got beat by them, because obviously they are a good football team. We're now up to, I think, 17 wins, 2 defeats and 1 loss, 1 draw in 20 games, and that is fantastic form. And like I said, the most important thing is that you didn't get beat. One, because of the Man United thing, and two, obviously psychology. It would really work against you. What you're saying, that against Chelsea, that mental block. If we'd have got beat by them, then you really are under the hammer, aren't you? But it's a shame we never beat them to get him and Wenger, that Mourinho.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time we haven't scored all season at the Emirates. It's also our first draw in 20 games, as you said. Surely the guys must be taking some solace from that. Dave, what do you think?
I would have thought so, and you allied that, a point at home to Chelsea, the win away to Manchester City, the cup win at Manchester United, the 4-1 drubbing of Liverpool. The Achilles heel of playing and not taking points off the big sides is kind of, it's on the back burner now, and next season we take it forward. Next season is the season Arsene gets to beat Mourinho, hopefully.
I hope so. I mean, the one thing, boys, the only thing I'll add to that is, Greece won a European Championship but have just come in to defend, and catch people in the break. So, it's very difficult. Okay, so let's talk about the aftermath of the match. The chorus of boring, boring Chelsea rang out around the ground, and when asked about it in the interview, Jose bit like a 5-year-old. It was pretty embarrassing. I think the comment was, what's boring is not winning a title in 10 years. And as everybody on Twitter's pointed out, they went a lot longer in their history without winning a title. So, do you think he sees us as a threat now, and that's why we're getting that reaction? And I'll go to you, Raj, on that.
Well, he did come out a day later after that and say something like that. If we got 4 signings, we'd be invincibles. On Sunday I was hoping if we did win, we'll be setting down a marker for next year. But I think over the course of the season, we've probably set down that marker, as Dave has quite rightly said, that we're starting to improve our results against the teams around us, which is great. But yeah, I think he's aware of us, and I think he was right. I know there was a furore over Thierry Henry saying the same thing, but if we do get the right purchases in the summer, then I think we are going to be title contenders.
I wouldn't disagree with you, Dave. There were applause, there were boos, there were a whole host of emotions and reactions to Cesc Fabregas. In Arsene Wenger's words, he's heard worse receptions. What did you make of it all, mate?
I was kind of surprised that it seemed to be a 50-50 reception between those who wanted to applaud, those who wanted to jeer. I really thought the manner in which he left the club was unfortunate. I don't think there was ever any doubt that he was going to Barcelona at some stage. We were quite prepared for that. I was quite happy for that to happen at some stage, but not when it did, and not in the manner in which it did. I really thought he was going to get a much, much rougher ride on Sunday. So perhaps we should say it's a credit to Arsenal supporters that he didn't get what was possibly he deserved.
Well, it's a difficult one. I know my feelings lie in him. I've said it many times in this podcast, but I think it's quite a difficult one when we can't tell people how to support the Arsenal, can we?
Mm-hmm. No.
Raj, you've got a question for Dave.
I don't have a question for Dave. What I wanted to say about the Cesc thing was that no, it's right. I didn't clap or boo Cesc. I don't boo anyone. Our players or opposition players never have done, never will. But the whole question is, was Arsene Wenger right in not signing Cesc last summer? And I've got to say, I will back Arsene Wenger on this 110%, because, the man put a lot of time and effort into Cesc Fabregas, developed him for many years, turned him into the player that he is. I know he was pretty decent when he turned up from La Masia, but he put a lot of time and energy into it, and he feels let down by him in some ways. And I think there was a lot of emotion in that decision, as well as the right one, which is by that time we'd already bought Sanchez, and so we had a pretty quality midfield by then, and we didn't need him. So I don't care what anyone says. I think that it was the right decision not to re-sign him last year, and I don't care how well he's done for Chelsea. I'll back that decision forever.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that was not an area that we needed to prioritise to strengthen last summer. And if we got Cesc, I have no doubt that we would not have had the money for Alexis. So I'm happy with the deal we did.
I think we bought Sanchez, hadn't we, before?
Cesc I think that added to the
way Arsene Wenger thought was he's got a great midfield now with Sanchez in it, and he probably did feel a little bit hurt by Cesc leaving and the way he did it as well.
Right. Leave me come in on you there, boys, because I've got a direct quote from I think it's Friday's presser with Arsene. When asked about Cesc Fabregas, his exact words are, "I cannot speak about the reasons now, because that will not help us win the game on Sunday. We will have to discuss it one day, with all the terms. It's not as clean as that." So what do you make of that then, boys?
I'll look forward to his autobiography. It'll be in there some point, but I mean,
he's definitely given us a few tidbits over the few years, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Yeah.
To punt his autobiography when that's going to be, and I'm going to be absolutely, as you most probably imagine, at the front of the queue because I think it's going to be a blockbuster. But the whole Cesc thing is, so what you got to remember is he came to us as a 16-year-old. Arsene nurtured him. You could see. I think I saw his debut. Who was it against? When we beat someone?
It Charity Shield? Wasn't it Charity Shield?
No, it wasn't. No,
it wasn't League Cup.
League Cup game. Rotherham. It was like 5-1 or 6-1, wasn't it? He come on as sub, and you could tell then he was a top. He was good. He was going to be a good player. He was just really, really comfortable on the ball. But he played I think nearly 300 games for us or something. With us for a long while. He went back to his home club. We had the opportunity of buying him back, refused the opportunity, quite rightly so, like Raj said, because we had players like Ozil in there as well, Rambo, Jack. You got three good quality players there that would all be maybe trying for the same position. So why waste the £25 million on Cesc when you could spend it elsewhere? So I don't really get on the booing. It's he's a Chelsea player now. He's irrelevant to Arsenal now, to be honest with you, with regards to what he does in the future. He's had his time at the club, and I thank him for that. But that's it. It's the end of it. I didn't boo him. I didn't cheer him. I didn't clap him. I didn't do anything. I just carry on with the game. I think that's the best thing to do.
Geoff, what did you think of the overreaction on Twitter about people clapping and booing? I know FK got belted, didn't he?
Yeah,
for coming out with a tweet, but I mean, just seems a bit over the top, really. He's not our player anymore, so why waste emotion over it?
Actually, guys, can we come back to that? Because I got a question about home-based fans and foreign fans coming later, and I want to bring that the FK business into it, if you don't mind. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Oh, right.
Because there's a couple of things I want to bring up on that, which sickened me on the weekend, to be honest with you. Okay, so to finish this off, the ultimate troll, Piers Morgan, had to have his say on the weekend, obviously. The prima donna couldn't let it go without him being the centre of attention, and he tweeted, "I offered what's his name the hand of peace. He refused it," and he later elaborated that Aaron Ramsey turned and said, "I don't think I want to do that." Now, knowing other people from Caerphilly the way I do, he's lucky he didn't get a headbutt. If you go to Kings on a Friday night, you probably will. What are your thoughts on that, guys? I'll start off with you, Dave.
Well, I shan't be going to Caerphilly on a Friday night, that's for sure.
No, seriously, don't. Seriously, do not.
Probably not the best person to ask about Piers Morgan. I blocked him long ago, and the man's just a self-publicist. He's putting stuff out there in the way that Adrian Durham puts stuff out there, and a host of other people do. He just wants to get the publicity, the reaction. Aaron, fair play to you, mate. I wouldn't shake his hand either.
Geoff?
I think he was spot on, Ramsey, wouldn't it? He's done it with respect. He was true to himself. Obviously, he didn't want any business with a man. Morgan stuck his hand out as a two-faced beggar he is. Well, it's true, isn't it? He's absolutely slating him for months and months and months and months. one minute, and the first time he sets eyes on him, he wants to shake his hand. So Rambo's done the right thing there and just totally blanked him. And fair play to him. He done the right thing.
I admire your restraint there, Geoff. It must be the influence of the Reverend Raj that we're not swearing tonight.
I nearly slipped one in there. I've done the absolute best.
No, don't. One podcast where we don't swear, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I warned Jason earlier.
Boys, I'm not answering the questions about Cesc. I will not swear today. Raj, your thoughts on it, mate?
It's a non-issue for me. I've got no time for Piers Morgan for certain personal reasons. I think he's a criminal in some ways, and so I don't really follow him. I don't read his tweets, and from what I've heard, Aaron Ramsey kept it classy. He had every right to say no, and he did it properly. So, fine, brilliant, go for it.
It must have hurt Piers' big ego, I should imagine, don't you?
Oh, I wish I could have been there with a camera and a big poking stick to poke him as I laughed.
But he even turned that into a publicity thing and tweeting that he got rejected and all that. I mean, it's just
exactly.
It's just no. I don't want to talk about it.
He's a cancer on the Arsenal, to be fair.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something there. Didn't think I was going to say cancer.
I think he did that deliberately, Very good, Jason. We know what you mean.
Boys, honestly, it's a non-swearing podcast tonight.
My heart stopped there for a second, Jason.
Okay, let's leave Sunday behind then, lads. We've had a couple of questions from Twitter, etc., and Facebook. And Abdul Ahad Jawad has basically asked about our youth system and the difficulty of bringing in youth players into the first team, them earning the spot, holding the spot down when there's the demand and the clamour for big name signings. This week we've also had Ainsley Maitland-Niles' mother in the headlines for alleged assault at Colney and threatening to take her son off the pitch and so forth. The best quote I've heard about it was, "She fought Dick Law and Dick Law won." Mark J. Fine that was. I thought that's cracking.
Oh, it was a clash, was it?
I have no idea, but apparently he was left with some bumps and bruises. So guys, tell me your thoughts on this, because obviously we've had some difficulty with the youth system and with the academy in recent years, but we have got some cracking talents coming through, and there have been a couple of big successes. But obviously this behaviour from a parent is not helping anyone. Raj, I want to start with you on this. What do you think about it all? Because the public clamour for the big name signings, but we want the kids as well. We want one of our own. How do you feel this is going to work for us going forward?
I think 2 or 3 years ago, it was generally agreed by most of us on here and other people that we know that the academy was kind of broken in some ways, and I think it's going to take a while to repair that. With this latest thing with the lad and his mother, I mean, how much do parents get involved in the development of their own child when it comes to football or any other sport? Really, it just sounds like a small story which has been blown up and turned into something mega when it really isn't. We've seen a lot of parents on football lines screaming and shouting and stuff. Unfortunately, this happened with Arsenal, so it's made headlines. So I'm not paying too much attention to it.
Okay, cool. Dave, what are your thoughts? I mean, okay, let's leave Mr. Maitland-Niles out of it, and let's talk about youth development now. If you look at our squad, there's strength and depth all over the place at the moment.
Yeah.
How are these kids supposed to break into this squad and earn the right to play for the Arsenal?
The answer is it's very difficult, and they are currently... You're asking me at a good time, because I had a discussion about this with someone at the club a few weeks back. I can't really go into it, but there is a sea change in the way that they're developing the kids there, in that they are... There's a reference made to Chelsea. Chelsea have just won the Youth Cup for the 3rd time in 4 years, but they're not producing any players at all. At least we have the likes of Wilshere and Gibbs who have come through. Bellerin's come through. But Arsenal now are concentrating, whereas they see Chelsea looking to develop teams to win trophies at youth level, Arsenal are now starting to concentrate on developing individuals as footballers. They still train in the same team exercises that the first team do, but what they'll do, I understand, is that when they're sent out with instructions for a game, they will be told to work on their weaknesses rather than their strengths. So, for example, the goalkeeper might be told, well, every single cross that comes into the box this week you're going to go for, even if normally his choice would be to stay and sit back. Those sorts of things. So we're trying to develop individuals rather than a team, because it is only individuals that come through the system. You never move a team from the under-21s to the first team. I think it could be interesting.
Excellent. That's good to know. Geoff, you're somebody who's been through this type of thing, although of course it was, back in the apprentice days and so forth.
Yeah.
How do you see this working out for us? Do you think it's a positive move for the club?
It's going to be so difficult for these boys to come through and break into the first team at a top club, because you've got to try and nudge in against top seasoned international footballers, generally highly decorated. They've won bits and pieces, and it's so hard. But there's an old saying: if you're good enough, you're young enough, or you're good enough, you're old enough. And if they are good enough, they will get picked up and they will come through. But, I agree with what Dave said. It's going to be very, very difficult for these boys, because that same reason, we're with Arsenal at that club now, where if we can't bring them through now, if they don't, it's okay up to their 15 and 16 and stuff like that. But between 15 and, let's say, 21, that is the time they've really, really got to push on and develop. And sometimes, they get distracted and, they're becoming an adult then, and they just get distracted and they're not 100% into it. If you want to be a footballer at that stage of your life, you really have just got to get your head down and concentrate on nothing other than football. And it really, it is very, very difficult. But, and that's why there's so many top quality youngsters. They don't make it at top level because they haven't got the attitude. The attitude's not right, or they just don't get it. And it is a shame, but it's going to be difficult for the boys, the young lads coming through, and there'll only be maybe one or two that get picked out. And it's even money whether they make it or not. Into the playing 200 or 300 games for Arsenal. It's very, very, very difficult.
I think if you look at Jack Wilshere at the moment, and his struggles with injury and so forth, and the way he first burst onto the scene, that just highlights how difficult it actually is. You're talking about a guy who was deemed as the future of English football by many. So, yeah. Raj?
I was just saying that we might need to, at some point, look at the way Germany developed their talent over the last decade or so. I mean, they had a disastrous European Championships 14, 15 years ago, and they decided that they were going to just stick to local talent rather than worry about kids from coming overseas. And they spent a lot of money on not just on the kids themselves, but also spent a lot of money in developing the coaches. I think we mentioned this about a year ago. I think
to give an example, Raj.
Yeah.
There are 280 or 90, whatever, pro-licensed coaches in England. There are 2,900 in Germany.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'd like to ask Dave, do you think at some point in the future we may have to start looking at limiting the number of overseas players that play at senior level in order to bring these kids through, to create those gaps in the teams to bring these kids through?
I don't think that you're going to be able to get away with it legally, Raj. I understand the reason for the question, and I sympathise with the reasoning behind it. But I think anyone who tries to put a restriction such as that on football these days is going to find themselves on the receiving end of a pretty damaging lawsuit very quickly.
I don't think there's a law against it, because I think, we both know about cricket. I think there's limits on overseas players in county cricket, isn't there? So the law must apply in all sports, but. I mean,
But I think the clubs would kind of take a kind of corporate restriction of trade action, if you like.
Yeah, there's already been talk of it, Dave. There's already been talk of it. It's a freedom of trade issue, as well as that European Union players they can't do anything about. But Arsene Wenger was asked in an interview about it not so long ago, and he said that the clubs would be up in arms. Combined with that, guys, do you not think that if you restrict players from other countries, do you not dilute the amount of talent coming through? Because obviously, it's a global game, you've got to compete against the best from all countries. Dave, carry on with that, please.
Well, I'll tell you what I really think about it at the moment is that you have a game that is generating vast sums of money from its commercial operations. The top clubs now are so very big. They're always going to be in a position where they're going to want to buy the best players to sell. This is going to sound horrible, but to sell the best product. And so for me, this is an issue of whether you want England to produce talented young players for the national team, which I'm not overly fussed about because my focus is on Arsenal. I want Arsenal to have the best team they possibly can. And I think that is an attitude that probably now is growing around the Premier League, where the clubs are far more important than the national side to a number of supporters. I know there's a bunch of guys who go to Arsenal, who go to watch England as well, and who would disagree with me. But I think it's as simple as that. I think I want to see my team have the best players that they possibly can get in it.
To be fair, Dave, I'm not bothered about England either.
They went away.
I know. Geoff, back to you, mate. Do you think it would dilute the amount of talent coming through?
Well, of course it will, because, as Arsene said, he doesn't really look at the passport. He'll just looks at the player and what they can offer. And, the promise. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? But, you see, like I said before, they've got other issues. These young kids nowadays, they've got all other stuff that they can do rather than play football. I mean, when I was growing up, that's all we had was a football. We'd play morning, noon and night in the school holidays. We'd just carry on playing football all day long. Whereas nowadays, they've got all different other interests that they can get involved in. And it's difficult for them, isn't it? And it will dilute it if we had that. But like Dave said, I'm not sure that I don't think they're allowed to. They can only do so much, and I think that's what they've already done. I think they've done as much as what they possibly can with making them the laws about you've got to have so many international caps, etc., etc. So it's going to be very difficult for them, isn't it, to change it? But like I said, if they're good enough, they'll get through.
Sweet, Raj. To finish this section off, lay down the law.
About what?
About whatever you think. What are your final thoughts?
I think my views are probably a little bit extreme on that. It's an idealised view more than anything else. But I'm sure the other two guys are correct. That it's going to be hard. I just do worry that if we have got all this talent in the academy coming through over the next 2 or 3 years, I've got no idea how they're going to break into the first team, because we're now in that financial position where we can, if we wanted to, and we probably will, buy a marquee signing once every season. And there's just not enough spaces in the first team squad. So unless you're ultra good, you haven't got much of a future, have you? Unless you go to another club. So it's a bit sad, really, in some ways.
You got more chance at Arsenal. Sorry, Dave. You got more chance at Arsenal than you have more the other top clubs, the other top 6, I would say, because at least you do get a chance if Wenger thinks you're good enough, he'll put you in. Whereas
that's true. Yeah, sorry, Geoff. Go ahead. Sorry.
Other teams will just they will buy a top players, won't they? Instead of taking a chance on bringing the young kids through. Dave.
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't forget there is kind of a restriction in as much as UEFA, is it going from 8 to 10 players that have got to be either homegrown or have been in the academy system for so long. So there is an encouragement there for clubs to have the young players in the first team squad, but there's sufficient flexibility in there for them still to be able to play 11 world-class players every week, and those kids are on the bench for Champions League games.
This is the problem, though. We've got this financial doping that's gone down levels now, and Chelsea and City, they're giving massive amounts of money for these young, promising kids at 13 and 14, so they can qualify for what you was just talking about. That's where the problem lies, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's crazy, boys. I saw a report on BBC today in the gossip column that City and whoever are after an 11-year-old from Luton Town. And I know this has happened before, but it still shocks me. Okay, let's wrap that up then. Apologies to everyone, and apologies to Danny. I forgot to do Ozil watch of the Chelsea game. I can confirm he did play. He was very good.
That'll do.
Yeah, that's it.
What about a Pirates watch? They won their last game.
Oh yeah, they won their last game. Yeah. Season's over. It's all friendlies.
They've won 4 out of 5, haven't they?
Yeah, recently. Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't want to give him too much encouragement. I'm drinking with him on the Cup final day, and yeah, they're doing okay, to be fair. Actually, it's a good little segment to bring it in. Again, the competition for fundraising for the Pirates is still going on. We will be tweeting details. It's from the Pirates Twitter account as well. There are some fantastic prizes up. There are match-worn shirts. There's the match-worn shirt book. There's a Pirate shirt. And they are nice. You'll print your name on the back. It's £2 to enter. Just go on the website and have a look. Chris does a lot of hard work with that club. And there are some great prizes available to you. There will be one. I did the draw with him last year, and Frederick Lundberg won it last year. And funny enough, he was the last person to donate, and his name came out the hat. So please keep an eye on that, and if you've got a couple of quid, go and support them. Okay, on to another subject that's raised its head recently, and it's a kind of divide between homegrown and foreign fans. Frederick Donnell's asked, you regularly see English Arsenal fans slagging off fans from other countries, often claiming, nothing about football, and they were not real fans. I thought we're supposed to be a classy club. Where do you stand on this? Now, the reason I cut this off earlier on the FK subject was, on the weekend, FK tweeted, I'm not ashamed to say I stood up and I clapped Cesc Fabregas off. Now, anybody who's listened to this podcast will know FK loves Cesc. He'll always respect Cesc for what he did for the club, and rightfully so. Combined with that, FK turns up and shouts for the Arsenal week in, week out. He's a lovely guy. He never abuses anybody. He's a gentleman. I'm privileged to have met FK. He's a really decent guy. Some of the abuse I saw him getting from fans from all over the world was pretty disgraceful. If I could meet them in person, I'd front up to them, but it's pointless. It's Twitter. But it was pretty disgraceful. And they're telling a guy who goes to the Arsenal week in, week out, how to support the club. Which I find, there's the flip side to the argument. There's two sides to the story. Geoff, you're the biggest Twitter account on the podcast here. You get some really positive stuff and some terrible stuff yourself. Give me your thoughts on this, mate. What are people doing to think that they can tell other people how they support the club?
Well, it's Twitter, isn't it? People just want to. It's just automatic. They just want to jump on it straight away. With regard to FK and what he said, listen, each to their own. If you want to get up and you want to clap, you clap. If you want to get up and you boo, you boo. It's up to anybody. They do what they want to do. But to have a go at FK just because he got up and he was appreciative and clapped Fabregas is ridiculous. But it's just Twitter. Honestly, you mustn't take it too seriously. I think that's the best thing. Don't take it too seriously. I've encountered it for 3 years. It's calmed down a lot now because I try and be careful. I try and not to be too. I don't. If you got to be very. And it's a shame really because you wanted to be open and you want to say what you like and give your honest thoughts on stuff. But sometimes you got to wind it in a little bit and think, oh, hold on a minute before you press the button, and you have to read it 2 or 3 times because you don't want the outcry. And unfortunately, the more followers you get, the more abuse you get, and it is disgraceful. But they can blare at me as much as they like because it makes not one iota of difference. All these people, 99.9% of them I've never met, so they're irrelevant to me anyway. So it doesn't make any difference to me. But he did take some dog's abuse, and it was very, very, it was unfair.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Dave, you've been writing a blog for quite some time now. You must have seen the good and bad of this.
Yeah, I'm kind of fortunate in that I've been relatively careful about if you're talking about Twitter, who I follow, and I've got a relatively calm timeline, so I kind of missed all of that last week. But having said that, it kind of I've found that it falls into 2 categories. One is you upset people who you have a lot of time for sometimes, because nobody can see your eyes and nobody can see your smile when you're typing at a keyboard, and 140 characters can be taken the wrong way quite legitimately. I think there's another thing where I have to be very careful about how I put this, because I can hear Raj yelling racist or something at me already. But there are parts of the world where people are more excitable than we might be here, where a lot of the abuse tends to originate. And that's not meant to sound in any way picking anyone out. It's just the way it is. And they will abuse as a matter of course because it's the way they behave. I'm sorry if anybody is offended by that, but that's how I feel.
I'll tell you what I've noticed over the years is the pattern that I see is the people that are kind, what I'd say kind, or say kind things or normal things, and you could have a decent conversation with, are the ones that generally agree with you. Like I'm obviously I like Arsene Wenger, and I believe in what he's doing for the club. But 99% of the hate that I get, or the negative comments I get, are for ones that don't like Arsene Wenger. Now, I don't understand. I can't get my head round why you can't have a normal conversation with somebody without taking a prejudice to them just because they like a manager or dislike a manager. I don't get it. And that's what I've encountered. That's what I see over the last 2 or 3 years. If people will always have a go at me, and when I look through their timeline, 9 out of 10 of them are Wenger out, and it's a fact of the matter. That's what it is.
In all fairness, to give the flip side of that, Geoff, I remember when I first came on the podcast, I'd retweeted from the Highbury Herald account. He tweeted some old pictures of Highbury, back in the 30s, and I just retweeted them. It's an account I like to follow because it gives me something to think about. It's always thought-provoking. Whether I agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. It's something good to follow. And somebody came at me, why the blah, 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 is he on my timeline? Get him off my timeline. Why are you retweeting him? And I said to him, whoa, I just retweeted a picture. What's your problem? And he had a real go at me again, and it ended up me saying something that I can't repeat on this podcast because I've made a promise to Raj. So it works both ways, for people. I've seen Gav receive some terrible abuse. I've seen him dish it out. Don't get me wrong, You know,
Yeah, no doubt he does. No doubt he does.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying to you. He obviously gets abuse from the people that like Wenger and
Yeah.
are pro the club, because Gav is very, I won't say anti-Wenger and anti the club, but you know he's a little bit negative, we'll say. Whereas the guys that are more positive, they'll have a go at Gav, and I don't see the reason why that is. You should be able to have a conversation.
I saw one guy threaten to rape him once on there. That's how bad it was. You know, that's how far across the line it went. Raj, getting back to the foreign fan, home ground fan aspect, I mean, surely there has to be a bit of understanding from both parties. You know, we saw off the FA Cup final last year, some fabulous scenes around the world with people celebrating the cup win. But the Arsenal is built on the tradition of generations of families going to watch the Arsenal, shouting for the Arsenal, supporting the Arsenal. Do these guys just need to take 5 minutes and think about what they're saying?
I think it's not about nationality. I think everyone needs to take 5 minutes before they say something. I mean, I tend to be a little bit more reserved than most on Twitter. Everyone knows where I stand, but I'd say 80%, 90% of people that I talk to on Twitter have got a different opinion than me. But I don't use that as a barrier to be able to talk to someone about something. Mm-hmm. So I can talk to Geoff, even though me and him are on kind of different opposites to a certain matter. It doesn't mean I can't talk to him. No, and I'm not going to abuse him, and I won't do that to anyone. And I don't care whether you're Indian, Canadian, French, Italian, or whatever. We're all Arsenal fans in the end, but we've all got a responsibility on how we kind of operate on this platform. Really, I think people have got to be careful what they say. I thought, when FK did his tweet, I tweeted him back saying perhaps a bit, the wrong time to have done that. But by that time, he was getting abuse from all four corners of the globe. But it's not. Forget about where people are from.
Yeah.
You got some sort of responsibility for yourself, and to base it on nationality. No, I don't agree with that. I think if you're Arsenal fans or whether you're just a Twitterer, just be nice to people. I mean, I have lost my rag on it a couple of times, but what I normally do now is I go off it for a couple of days, and stew privately or on our WhatsApp group. I'll take it out on you lot, but I wouldn't take it out publicly,
Yeah.
But then I've got another professional side of me which represents other things, so I've got to be kind of relatively careful what I say, because a lot of people follow me not because of the Arsenal.
That's fair comments. I mean, to wrap this up, I've said things I'm ashamed of on Twitter. I know I have. But funnily enough, before I came on the podcast, before I met Gav, I'd listened to him on the podcast once, and he'd been anti-Arsene Wenger, and I was given a different argument in it, and we had a really good Twitter chat, and it was left along the lines of Gav left it with, well, actually, it would be boring if we all thought the same thing, which I thought was perfect. So that's
my only bit of advice to anyone is don't lose your temper on Twitter. And if you stick to that, you'll be fine. Because I've seen Geoff in the middle of some right old debates, and he's the only one who stays calm. And if you stay calm in that kind of situation where you've got people haranguing you, you're always going to win, because you're staying aloof from emotion. And when you do that, you'll win your argument. And so... hats off.
That's what I mean. But if you can't get too into it. You can't take it too seriously.
Yeah,
as soon as you start taking it seriously, then it's going to affect your emotion, and you're going to get, you get het up, and you get drawn into that verbal. But if it doesn't affect you, if these guys are irrelevant to you, it's just like a chat. Don't worry about it. You can say what you like. It doesn't hurt. You know what I mean? So just don't worry about it. Just let them crack on.
Be too cool for school, just like Geoff.
And I find it quite amusing sometimes, and I sit back and I look at it and say, how can you say that to somebody? You know what I mean? Someone you don't even know, you've never met, you're thousands of miles away. What's the point?
There's a real good point, because actually, Geoff, sometimes you do get to meet these people again later. When you meet them, whenever I've met someone face to face in the pub before the game, you never end up falling out with them. You always end up being friendly with them.
Exactly.
And you appreciate the effort that they've made to get there, and the effort that they've made to talk to you, and all the rest of it. So, yeah.
In my early days, just to finish it off, it was like 4 years ago when I first started twittering or tweeting or whatever you call it. It was actually Dave that calmed me down. I've known him for like 3 or 4 years, and now we're mates. We've got to see cricket together and all that kind of stuff. But he was the one who was going, "Oh, Raj, do you have to say that?" Because at the time it was all BSM this and BSM that, and I'd be cracking off because I was a novice. I'd just be ranting and being angry and stuff, and it'll be the odd tweet from Goonerholic. I thought this is a legendary character who's going, "Calm down, mate. Come on, it's only football."
It is difficult at the start, though, isn't it? When you're first on it, you're on it, and you think, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to have a go back," and you're trying to. But you have got to try and be calm. It's funny though. It's funny.
Well, the BSM is probably the most divisive thing out there 3 or 4 years ago, and I never got it.
Not anymore.
No, absolutely not. I never got it because if you looked at all of the stuff on the website and all that, there was nothing there that was controversial. Everything that was controversial was kind of the stuff that was whispered behind everybody's backs.
It was that, to be honest, if you want that honest truth, it was the militancy of the members. That's what it was. Not the aims of the members. It was the militancy. And, that's 4 years ago. So, anyway, I'd like to thank Dave for keeping me sane in the last 4 years.
So the moral of the story is, stay calm, have a beer together, and relax. We'll all get on and hold hands.
Yeah, if you get angry, just walk away. That's what I do now. So
absolutely. Okay, guys, let's move this on. From various sources this week, there's talk that Santi Cazorla could be leaving the club in the summer. Dave, Santi leaving? He's 31. He couldn't hit the target from open play anymore. Sorry, guys, I've got to get that in. He hit the corner flag on Saturday. I couldn't believe it, okay? But he's a wonderful footballer. He's got great feet. How big a loss would Santi be if he did go?
I don't get that he's going. I think there are others who may be going through the exit door before him. I think that we will move heaven and earth to keep him, because when you have a player of his quality, I mean, let's face it, we're trying to shoehorn him and Mesut Ozil into the same side when they would really like to be doing the same job. But yet still, you can't afford to lose somebody like that when you have a situation. All right, don't want to name names, but I'm going to have to now, aren't I? Theo. Where does Theo fit in now that he cannot get a guaranteed first team slot, and there are going to be teams that will want to up their...
Sorry, can I chuck another name in for you here now for you to elaborate on? Jack Wilshere.
Exactly the same situation. Can't see both Theo and Jack going. I can see one of them going, and that's why I think we'll move heaven and earth to keep Santi, which was the original question.
Cool. Okay. Raj.
Yeah, I think we have to keep Santi Cazorla. I think, there's question marks against Flamini. Arteta might get another year from what I hear from you.
Yes!
Oh, that was so superb.
I think I can't see Santi leaving. I don't think he wants to leave. I don't think Arsene Wenger wants him to leave. I think he's here. I think he loves the club. He loves the fans. He was at a charity do a couple of weeks ago, which the Gunners pub kindly invited me to, and I couldn't make it. But he was saying then that he loves everything about the club. So I think we'll keep him. I think it won't be that hard to keep him. But there are other decisions to be made about Theo or possibly Jack or whatever. But those are really massive decisions which I don't particularly want. I'm thankful that I'm not making those decisions.
Podolski.
Well,
Podolski's gone, Dave. Surely he's gone. Yeah. He's gone.
Yeah. So to be fair, lads, there's Campbell, Podolski, there's Arteta, Flamini, there's Diaby, there's Rosicky. Okay, as much as I love all these players, I read a start this week, guys, that the Arsenal had not lost a game at the Emirates when Matthew Flamini had started the game. I love Matthew Flamini, or he played in the game actually. I love Matthew Flamini, but he's just not good enough anymore, is he? Geoff, so we're going to move heaven and earth to keep Santi. Jack and Theo, what can you see happening, mate?
It's going to be difficult for him, like everybody in the squad. We're at that position now where we can go and buy these top quality players. We're fully loaded with top quality midfield players. and there's only for them 2 central places. There's a lot of players in there that can do the same job. You'd be absolutely crazy to let someone like Cazorla go. I think he's been a revelation this season. He's changed his game from when he first come. I think we saw him as a number 10 at the time, and that didn't go. Although he's left foot, right foot, he's brilliant. He's got great technique, but it just weren't quite happening for him. Now he's changed his game. He's playing a lot deeper. The game's in front of him. Sometimes when he gets the ball, when he goes on them little runs, the break, the turnover of ball, as soon as he gets it, and he'll run forward and he'll go left foot or right foot, and that's what's dangerous, for opposition teams. I think it would be crazy to let someone go. He's not going. I don't think he's going to go. But if he goes, it'll be Arsenal, because Arsenal want to sell him, not because he wants to go. He's settled at the club. He loves it at the club, and I can't see him wanting to go anywhere. It's difficult though, isn't it? You've got other lads that are on the sideline, like Jack and Theo, that are trying to get into the team now, that are having a hard time of it. The problem is with Jack, he's another one that's going to need to change his game if he wants to continue as a footballer, because he keeps on running with the ball hanging out, in front of him, and he keeps on getting clattered by these big guys that are bigger and stronger than him. And if he keeps on doing that, he's always going to be on the sidelines. He's going to be out for every 3 months, for 3 months. He's got to stop. He's got to change his game a little bit. Whether that means positionally he's got to change, or he's got to do something to change his game. Theo's in limbo. I've said it for a long, long time now. I think it's a mental problem with Theo. I don't think he's got the confidence to play at the top level and really, really hit it big. I think he's got all the ability you could wish for. A fantastic player, got pace, he can dribble, but has he got the bottle for it? I've yet to see it, honestly, because I see Theo hiding in games. I see Theo marking players rather than trying to find space. So unless he changes his game, he gets a bit of confidence about him. Unfortunately, I think he's gonna maybe have to leave the club to get regular football.
Geoff, has he lost a bit of ambition now in terms of what he's? He seems to have just, I don't know, he just hasn't progressed in any way. Is it all about the money for him now and just a bigger contract somewhere else?
No, I don't think so. It's difficult. Like I said before, I don't know, what is he, 26 now or something, maybe?
Yeah.
He's been at the club a long while now, and we've persevered, but now is the time. We don't have to persevere anymore, and he's got to step up. Otherwise, he's going to find himself on the sidelines, which he has done, for most of this season, really. Even, he's been back a long while now, and we can all say, he's not fit and all that. He's fit. Don't you worry about that. He's not playing because the boss don't think he's a first choice at the moment, and it's as simple as that. And there's a reason for that. It's because he watches him every day in training, and if he's not doing it, then he's not doing it. He's behind Welbeck now, definitely. I'd rather have Danny Welbeck playing than Theo wide, and then that's saying something, isn't it? Because we really bought Welbeck as a central role, Yeah. But he's really got to step up, Theo, or he's going to have to move on.
I think that's a great point, because again, you've got a kid. Or he's not a kid anymore. He's a man. He's been at the club 10 years, and whereas he's seen Bale, who was a left back, become a superstar at Real Madrid, he still hasn't taken his chance with the Arsenal, and it's I know he's been injured, and I feel for the lad, but he's back and he's got to prove it in training to get on that to get into the first team. Dave, do you see Theo's future at the Arsenal or away from the Arsenal?
Simple answer to that. I think at this stage, if you ask me now, I would say he was probably gone in the summer, because he cannot get that place in the side at the moment, because he will be attractive to particularly Liverpool, shall we say. There will be clubs in that area who will want him. He'll have a value, and if Arsenal were to be offered a sum of money that's considered to be a good deal, I have a feeling he might be allowed to go. And the reason I'm kind of being reluctant to go further than that is that we don't know how much that year out has taken out of him. Is he not playing because he can't take a tackle at the moment? Or is it that, when he came back for a couple of games, he missed a couple of sitters, didn't he? There's something not quite right there.
Okay. Right. We're now going to go on to Twitter and Facebook questions, guys. Just to let listeners know, to the guys who have already donated to the Pirates, we'll be reading out their names at the end of the pod. I'll do that as a little Easter egg at the end. I need to speak to Chris about that. So we're going to go straight to Facebook questions, and the first one's from Robert Clegg. I'm going to go to you first in this, Raj. He asks, how can we get Ramsey out of the pendulum swing of love and hate that he gets from certain sections of the support? He polarises opinion, it seems. I believe he never hides. So if he's playing and he gets noticed, what's going on with him?
Does he polarise as much as he used to? I think he had a great season last year, maybe not as great a season this year, but he's still a player that's getting picked every week or most weeks. I think most fans are backing him, aren't they?
Most are, but I still see. I mean, I got to be honest with you. He's a countryman of mine. Yeah, I'm a bit protective. I'm like that, and I do see some pretty vicious stuff being said about him. It may be said about a lot of our other players, and I don't notice it. But he does seem, I mean, the miss against Reading, he was slated.
But that's just going to happen now. We're in that age now where one small mistake can be amplified on social media 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And if you look at the overall picture, I think most of us, or most fans, are 100% behind Aaron Ramsey. But you're always going to have, with any player, and not just Arsenal player, any player around the country, there's always going to be fans who don't like him and will never like him, whatever he does. So I'd say that I don't think we need to worry about it, because I think in general most of us do support him and back him 100%.
Cool, Geoff.
I think he's doing a decent job at the moment. Obviously, he's not. He's not at the moment. He's not going to get in them middle spots. You got Coquelin and Santi Cazorla in there, and Ramsey been playing on the right hand side because he gives us that balance instead of Theo. I mean, Theo must be sitting on the sideline thinking, "Blimey, hold on a minute. I'm a natural right-sided player. Rambo is not a natural right-sided player, and he's getting in front of me. It must be difficult for the lad, but at the same time, he gives us the balance. And if Arsene Wenger thinks that he can do a job out there, I don't see any reason why not. And to be honest, to be fair, he's been doing a job out there. He's not playing as well as what he has done in the past, but I still think he's doing a good job. I wouldn't worry about it.
Sweet, Dave.
I think his role we've been talking about his role changing, where he's being picked on the right-hand side at the moment. Last year he did all of his best work, of course, as the box-to-box man. That kind of Santi's taken over. We've shifted players around, and I don't think Aaron's as comfortable in the role that he's doing now, but he's doing it because it's his way of getting into the side. He's doing a good job for the club. I'd kind of like to see him back next to Coquelin myself, and I would do a little bit of fiddling further forward and have Ozil and Cazorla working in tandem. But what do I know about it? I think he's doing a different role, hence he's not scoring the goals, hence he attracts a little bit of criticism from those who seek to be offended.
I think fans have got to be understanding that we've got so many different options now.
Yeah.
The way to set the team up, and we're in a position of luxury which we weren't in a year ago, and definitely not 2-3 years ago. And we're kind of heading the right way, I've got to say. And if players play out of position, then so be it. We've all got our preferences, and that's understandable. Yeah. But we've got this wealth of talent, and we've got to try and fit them all in, or rotate them or whatever. And I think we've got to tolerate that. So if he plays on the right when he was better last year in the middle, then accept it, because the stats show themselves. We haven't lost a game in ages.
Superb, isn't it? Okay, on to the next one. This is from Brendan O'Donoghue. With English teams doing so poorly in the Champions League this season, and with the firepower from the big three, Barca, Bayern and Real, can you ever see us winning the Champions League? He's tired of hearing ribbing from United, Liverpool and Chelsea fans. And Dave, will we win the Champions League?
I genuinely believe that we will, and I genuinely hope it happens sooner rather than later, because it's the only thing I've not seen us win. But when you think that we got to the final in 2006 with a makeshift back four, there are going to be seasons where opportunities are going to open up, and this might have been one actually if we'd got past Monaco, but we didn't, so that's no point in worrying about it. But yes, I have to believe there's a season, particularly as we get stronger and stronger, where I think we're going to go all the way. Hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully I'll be there to see it.
Ah, sweet. Geoff?
I've absolutely no doubt we'll definitely win the Champions League, and I think we'll win the Champions League in the next 3 to 5 years. I really do. We've got that. We're building that team now. That is good in Europe, as well as, you know, we've got a group of European players, top quality European players, as well as, you know, the British core, so to speak. I've got absolutely no doubt. It's just a matter of time. And I think, you know what? I know it's a difficult competition to win, but I think it's easier to win the Champions League than it is the Premier League.
Absolutely. It's probably easier to win. This is going to sound even stranger. It's probably easier to win than the Europa League, where you got more games, more travelling. You're playing on Thursdays, very close to your next league games.
Very true. Jason.
Where's Jason?
I think he's gone.
This is the bit where we have a team.
Sorry, lads. Sorry. Bloody moved, doesn't it? Mr. Patel, your thoughts on Champions League success?
I'm slightly more wary than the two granddads, to be honest. I think.
Why?
No. Let me finish. See, you'd never let me finish anything. I'd love to. Obviously, like any other fan, I'd love us to win the Champions League, and possibly we might win it at some point. I don't know when. And the reason I say that is because I look at Bayern Munich and Barcelona and Real Madrid and think, Christ, how can we beat those three teams or one of those teams to win the trophy? I mean, there's rumours that Madrid might have a transfer ban this summer, so next year could be the chance where if we make the right purchases, then we've got a chance. You know, if they're not allowed to buy, Barcelona not allowed to buy. But I don't know. I just can't see us beating those three teams at the moment.
We've beaten them before, though, Raj.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've got to beat them kind of in a consistent run to the final, and then
we've got to beat them at home.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we can beat. I really
on a one-off. On a one-off, we can beat them. But I'm not trying to be negative.
I know.
I honestly hope we do win it, and I hope we win it in the next as soon as possible. But I mean, I've just seen those three teams play in the last couple of weeks, and they are unbelievable.
Did you watch them last night?
I didn't watch them last night. Was that 6-0?
Bayern.
No, I didn't watch them last night. Was that Dortmund?
Yeah. Got done on penalty.
All teams. We've beaten Barcelona 2 years ago. That was one of the great Champions League evenings, wasn't it? But yeah, we might do. I don't know. But God blimey, it's a hard one, that.
Okay. I think we will. 2 years. 2 years we're going to do it. Right, next question, lads. And I'm coming straight to Geoff on this. K.A. Leighton asks, every year we hear that we are 2 or 3 players away from challenging for the title. Chelsea and City like to bring in 2 or 3 players themselves every summer. Will it take 150 million outlay on probably 5 players to truly bridge the gap? What do you think?
No, not at all. I don't think so. I think we're super good. Honestly, I think there's a fag paper between us and Chelsea, and the only difference this season between Arsenal and Chelsea is Chelsea haven't had any key injuries apart from Costa, who's been out for the last couple of months on and off. I mean, the whole back four's been together. The goalkeeper's been in position. Matic. has played all the games, 33 games. Hazard has played 33 games. Once you've got that core group playing together, it gives you something. And we haven't had that. You know, they had a great start, Chelsea. You've got to hold them up because they're going to be champions. They had a great start, Chelsea, and they went to the top straight away, and they've remained at the top more or less for the whole of the season. Arsenal had a terrible start. Not a terrible start, but we lost, I think, one game and drew 4 or 5 games in the first 8 or 9 or whatever it was, and that was deemed to be a terrible start. And I agree, it wasn't to the standard that what we should be performing if we've got any aspirations of being league champions. But it's very difficult. We had all those injuries at the same time to key players, and you know, it really, you know, it's killed us in the end, really. But the main thing is, generally, other clubs get the similar type of injuries, and Chelsea haven't this year. And I think that's been the difference.
Dave, what do you think about Thierry Henry's comments that we needed 4 players to really be contenders? And he was talking about the spine of the team, which is centre back, defensive midfielder, and a kind of an outstanding forward as well. I mean, it caused a bit of a furor on Twitter again, but your thoughts on that?
I don't think we need 4. I certainly don't think we need the entire spine. I think there's a case for another defensive midfielder, although I'm very, very impressed with Francis Coquelin and what he's achieved since he's kind of come back by accident. I think there's a case to be made for a top-notch goal scorer. There's only going to be a need for a goalkeeper if Wojciech Szczesny decides that he is not prepared to stay and fight for his place. I think we have 2 excellent goalkeepers there. But Wojciech, obviously, his problems are between the ears. And if he decides he wants to go, then yes, we'll need a goalkeeper. Quite happy with the centre of the defence.
Geoff, a few weeks ago you said that we needed another striker, a 25 goal a year striker. I agreed with you at that time. Have you changed your mind since then?
Listen, I think everybody needs a 25 goal a year striker. Everybody, the whole football world. But are they out there? Can you find them? It's very difficult, and because even if you know there's a shortage of them, there's no doubt about that. But even when you do find them, it's very difficult to prize them away from that particular football club. I mean, you look at, for instance, Wilfred Boney. He went for £30 million to Manchester City. Right? £30 million. You know, that's the kind of money you're going to have to pay for that type of quality. You know, because that's the mark. They look at that. Whoever's, you know, any decent player who's this kid in Memphis Defy or whatever his name is, he's been scoring goals apparently. Well, his agent's going to say, well, hold on a minute, Man City, if he's being touted to the Premier League, he's going to say, well, Man City have paid £30 million for Wilfred Boney. We think our boy's worth £40 million. Now, you know, it's so difficult. Personally, if there's one, I think Wenger will find one for £15 million, like he did Giroud. It's got a little bit more pace around about the box, and you know that can nip in and get a goal. But you know what? To be honest with you, I think he's changed it a little bit. He's worked around with what we've got, and now he's added Sanchez. You'll get goals from all over the park. So we're not actually putting too much pressure on Oli Giroud to score all the goals like he had to in the past. All the pressure was on him. He's took the pressure off him a little bit, so we score goals from all around the park. And you know what, Oli Giroud has been a fantastic player for Arsenal, and he's improving all the time. And I think he can get 25, 30 goals, maybe. You never know. The proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
I agree with you about what you're saying about Giroud. Absolutely, he's done really well, and certainly he's got a future at the club. I think what I was trying to say is that there's an argument going out saying that we don't need to get a striker now because we've got Giroud. And as you've suggested, you've got goals coming from Sanchez and others as well. But if there was a striker available and that we could get him, what would your answer be? Yes or no?
If we could wind the clock back a little bit and give £60 million for Suarez, I would do it tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
because that is the one that gets you over the line. You know for sure he's going to get you your 25 to 30 goals, and he'll create all kinds of havoc so other players can score as well. Ollie Giroud, he's not that type of player, really. You know, he doesn't get the ball down and dribble at people and in the box and get penalties, etc., etc. He's a different type of player. But you know, if that type of striker does come available, Arsenal are in the hunt. But so is everybody else, Raj, and it's going to be very difficult to get them, isn't it?
No, I don't doubt that at all. But I agree with you. I think if a player came up, then we should take him.
But surely, lads, I mean, what we've seen, especially the second half this season, we did have a cluster of injuries initially in the beginning of the season. We've seen the build-up pressure from from us adding quality players to the squad in exactly the same way that Chelsea are so good now. It hasn't happened overnight. They've had the base of that squad there for a long time, and now we're in the same position. A couple of little additions, and we're there. Jaskaran Jaya from Twitter at Jaskaran Jaya asks, what positions are we looking to add to, and who? Would anybody have any information? We'll start with you, Geoff.
Like Holic said a little bit earlier on, I think we'll only be looking at a goalkeeper if he throws his toys out the pram or he doesn't get his head together. Because I think Wenger rates both the goalkeepers, and I rate both the goalkeepers. I quite agree. I do think he's in the market for. Well, I know he's in the market for a central midfield player, not necessarily a defensive midfield player. He wants a strong midfield player that can do both. A strong, clever midfield player, and maybe a winger, a quick winger. We'll have to see what happens on that one, won't we?
Cool. Holic. Dave.
It entirely depends on, we were talking earlier about who's likely to be leaving. That's going to determine who comes in. And if Geoff's talking about this, I use the term defensive midfielder and it's wrong. What Arsene, I think, would really love is a fit Abu Dhabi or a version of that kind of player. But whether there's one out there, who knows. I agree about there's possibly room for a winger. Another question I have is about left back. And I don't know what you guys think about whether Gibbs has made the progress that we expected and that he and Monreal are sufficient for the task, or whether you might be thinking about supplementing there.
It's a good point as it happens, and I think you're 100% right to put that question out there about Gibbs, because he really hasn't improved for the last 18 months. That's in my opinion. He made great improvement up until that point, and you think that's what we was talking about earlier on. You know, it's having that. You know, you've got to keep on going and keep on going, keep on improving. And if you don't improve at a club like Arsenal, you are going to get. You know, you'll get dished to the side. He really, I don't see any. I'm an old school man. I like to see a bit of nastiness in defenders, right? And I don't see any nastiness at all coming from it. He doesn't say boo to a goose. I was watching him. You know, I was low. I normally sit in the upper tier, but I was in the lower tier for that Reading game in the cup semi-final. And he's just not at all. He's just too nice. He's too nice to be a defender.
He seems to lack belief, though, doesn't he?
Well, you never see him getting, you know, he doesn't get emotional. He don't really, you know, I need to see him snarling at players, scaring players, you know. He doesn't do that. And to be a proper defender, you've got to be great in the tackle. I mean, his recovery's good because he's got plenty of pace. But, you know, I want him to just be a little bit, try and get that bit of nastiness into his game to make people fear, you know, to worry about him. He's too nice. And he's really got to liven up.
Right, guys, we're going to finish this off now. We're going to take one more question from Twitter, and it's from Scarlett Farlan at Scarlett Farlan 1. If you could make one signing this summer, who and why? Raj Patel.
Just one signing?
Yeah, your choice. Just one signing. Who and why?
I couldn't give you a name, but I'd go for what we just said, a 30-goal-a-year striker. I think we've got a solid enough midfield, and I'd take the gamble with them. Yeah, I'd go for striker. I think if we did that, we might win the Premier League next year.
Okay, great. Geoff?
If we could sign a player like a young Michael Carrick, I think we'll win the league next year without a shadow of a doubt.
Is Schneiderlin or Lars Bender that man?
I don't think they're as good as him, but that type of player would be okay. I don't know, I wouldn't go as far as to say if we got Schneiderlin or Bender, we'd definitely win the league. But if we got a carbon copy of Carrick 5 years ago, I just think he's the ultimate holding midfield player.
Superb, Dave.
The reason I hate questions like this is that 19 seasons out of 20, the answer that you're going to give is never going to sign for you. And mine certainly isn't an option for us, but I would take Aguero tomorrow.
Yeah, very true.
Superb.
Very true.
I'll answer this one as well. I'd take Gareth Bale because he's Welsh and he's beautiful and he'd bag us 30 goals a season.
And that would annoy the Tottenham fans as well.
It would wind the shit out of them.
Can you imagine if we signed Bale?
For 10 million.
Exactly.
10 million.
Okay, guys, shout-outs. Right, Raj, have you got a shout-out tonight?
No, I haven't. You'll have to come back to me.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Oh, mate, you know what? I've done the same. I've forgotten all about the shout-outs. I'll tell you what, I've got a shout-out tonight.
I've got one as well.
Chap that works for 442. He's very vocal. He loves the club. And that's Chaz Nuki Burden. He's a good follow on Twitter. And his handle is all that Chaz. Get following.
Raj?
It's a guy called Chennai Guna, and basically, when I got wound up the other night and I did that tweet about Arteta, he basically tweeted it to like 500 million Indians in India, and I got so much shite from like.
Did you get a lot of stick for that, Raj?
Yeah, but it was all from India.
Yeah, I did. You know that post I sent to you? I deleted it straight away because I thought, I better delete that because he's going to get so much. So
I'll shout him out because he believed me and then retweeted it to millions of people basically. So
he's asked a question.
Thanks for that.
I'm world famous for being a Burke in the subcontinent. So
they should see how much grief he got on WhatsApp. I'll tell you what. Jesus.
Oh, did he?
Mate, I rubbed it in. Dave, yourself, mate.
Oh, it would have to be all the times I've been asked this, and I've never said the one person I really should say. The bloke who sits next to me every week, and he's now deaf in his right ear, the poor sod. At Jackster83, he's having a bit of a week of it. He's got a new career coming, and he hasn't got to put up with me now until the West Brom game, thankfully. So I'll try and get him some earplugs before that.
Superb, mate, superb. Right, so, I'm going to do my shout-outs now, but I'd like to thank everybody who's given us Facebook questions and Twitter questions. Apologies if they've not been read out, but it was so good listening to the guys tonight that we've just run out of time. I do apologise. I've got two shout-outs. The first is for Gregory Mertens. He's the young man and the Belgium former under-21 international who plays for Lokeren, who's unfortunately passed away this week. Another footballer who's collapsed on the pitch and unfortunately left us. I know we'd all want to send our best wishes and thoughts to his family. Thank you. The other one is to a guy who, when I joined Twitter, he was one of the first people I started following and who followed me back and we started interacting. And his name is Ashim Lamishan. And he's at Ashim, ASHIM 888. Now, Ashim is from Nepal. And currently, obviously, they've had a massive disaster out there. I contacted him this week. He's okay, thankfully. His family and friends are okay. But they're basically living in a field because the houses have collapsed and what have you. But instead of feeling sorry for himself, Ashim is out collecting money for those people in rural areas and trying to help and joining search parties and just trying to help his fellow countrymen.
Good lads.
Yeah, it's not my place to ask anybody to donate money. It's not the place of the podcast to do that. But if you do want to donate a £5 and save somebody's life, go to UNICEF or go to Save the Children, or go to Oxfam, and there'll be details on their Twitter pages or web pages where you can text and give a £5. Be brilliant, give somebody a £5 and save somebody's life. It's the water and the shelter that they need. And that's it, guys. I would like to thank the Right Reverend Raj Patel, the biggest ITK in the business, for again being brilliant tonight. Thank you, Raj.
Always a pleasure.
I would like to thank Geoff Arsene, because he just is the coolest guy in London.
No,
in the
he's
world.
not. He's not.
I'm sorry.
Very, very kind words, Jason. Thank you
I've got
very
one
much,
final
sir.
question for Geoff, actually. Very
Fire away.
quickly.
Go.
Far away.
Are you going to look forward to this bus parade on the 25th of May outside your
No,
house?
sir. I will. Yeah, I'll weekend away. I'll be somewhere else. I promise you that.
Come to Cardiff, mate. Come to Cardiff. You'll be okay. And the all left me to do today is to thank our very special guest, Dave, at Goonerholic. If you go to Dave's Twitter page, it's at the Goonerholic. He's also got a website, got some fantastic blogs up there. Learn something about the Arsenal. Read Dave's work. It's well worth it. Dave, you've been superb. Thank you ever so much.
No, thank you, and thank you, Geoff. Thank you, Raj. I've enjoyed it. And parting shot, you'll never guess what the score was between the Chelsea ladies and the Arsenal ladies tonight.
Go
Go
on.
on.
Go on.
0-0.
Oh,
Boring Chelsea.
yeah, fantastic.
And that's a
Dave.
wrap.
I have to tell you, cancer I thought was going to be something different.
Cancel the
Definitely.
I just thought, here we go, he's going to say it.
Oh,
Cancer.
I almost heard it. You know, when you. Oh, there we go.